Well, good evening. I'm Alan Jackson, and welcome to Nashville. One of the early successes of the new Trump administration has been the roundup of people who are in our country illegally. President Trump sent Tom Homan and Kristi Noem out, and they've delivered. It's been quite a battle, though, because Homan and Noem are up against not only gang members, sex traffickers, drug dealers, and people hidden in all corners of the country. They're up against progressive politicians, and in some cases, even the American court system. Judges who are throwing up legal roadblocks, and a few others who've gone so far out of their lane that one of them has now been arrested for protecting a repeat offender, a known gang criminal. You heard it correctly. U.S. judges violating the law that they've sworn to uphold and hiding gang members in their homes or letting them run free out the back door of the courtroom. Well, with that, I'd like to introduce our guest tonight. He's the distinguished South Carolina Republican, Congressman Ralph Norman. Welcome to our show, sir.
Pastor Jackson, glad to be with you.
Well, making this country safe was the #1 issue when voters brought Donald Trump and a lot of conservatives like you back to office last year. To drive the point home, the White House press office has put up these signs in front of the news cameras. They're mugshots of the captured criminals listing the crimes they've committed. You know, for years, Democrats went on acting like nothing was wrong. Prime example, Adam Schiff, who sounds like he just noticed. Listen to this comment he made recently.
We're going to have to address people's legitimate concerns about crime. I was in South San Francisco 2 years ago after I had an experience in the city that all too many people had. When my luggage was stolen out of my car, they tell you don't ever leave your luggage in the car. I never do until the one time I did. And of course, it got stolen.
He said that he didn't realize how bad it was until a cashier at Target told him something needed to be done. Could he really have been that blind to what was going on?
Adam Schiff, yes, he is that blind. He's I think, a psychopath. I mean, look what he did on accusations against Donald Trump during the impeachment trials. The man doesn't know, can't spell the word truth. It's amazing he has to have something to literally happen to him. Then all of a sudden he's paying attention. What about the deaths? What about Lincoln Riley? What about the rapes that happen all over this country as a result of the 15 million illegals in this country? And, you know, thank God for Donald Trump and the courage to do what he said. And as we've been asked all yesterday about the first 100 days, what we want the next 100 days, and my answer is simple, a repeat of the last 100 days. The man is making a tremendous progress in keeping this country safe.
Well, you highlighted another one of the big problems with the millions who are here illegally. An estimated 2 million illegal migrants got Social Security numbers last year at a cost to the taxpayers of $180 billion. What, if anything, can be done about that?
Well, you know, what has been highlighted with Elon Musk and the DOGE Act is the fact that where our tax money has been spent. It started with USAID, it's going down through Social Security. Every agency would be examined, as it should be. And, you know, the fact that the illegals in the country, the SAVE Act ought to be a part of anything we pass from here on. It ought to be attached, which is just verifying that you are who you say you are. You got some civil penalties if you don't. And consequences, the Democrats have never understood because they haven't received them, particularly the last 4 years. But if we get the SAVE Act passed, which I think we can, with no Democrat support, that the bedrock of this country is open and fair elections. And if you're illegal in this country, where you have not come the right way, the valid way, then you shouldn't be allowed to vote per the Constitution. So the SAVE Act will go a long way to do that, and I think that will be done.
When the Biden administration let the world stroll in, it was believed to be a part of a liberal plan to create more Democratic voters. Now, you've gotten behind this bill, you've mentioned it, that would force states to verify citizenship before allowing them to vote. Can you tell us in a bit more detail about this SAVE Act that you've been talking about?
Yeah, I mean, the National Voter Registration Act has really not been followed. No one has, as example, in South Carolina, we asked for a list of new registered voters in South Carolina for the last 12 months. The Biden administration wouldn't release it. Under the SAVE Act, you'd be required to release it. You've got to show valid, when you register try to register to vote, you got to show a valid ID, not one that's fake, that's been given by this administration. If you lie or misrepresent it, you pay civil penalties that Americans can bring against them. So, photo voter ID is, again, that's the only fail-proof way to do this. It makes allowances for those with disabilities. They can get them to the places of registration and make sure they are who they say they are. So I think we shouldn't have to deal with this, but as you mentioned earlier, the only reason this was done, the Biden administration thought this would be a solid voting bloc, and that no one would question the fact that they're here illegally, and this corrects that, or goes in the right direction to get it corrected.
Well, let's talk about these judges who are making up their own rules, the government officials who've ignored the very laws they were sworn in to uphold. In the headlines is the one Wisconsin judge who let a gang member escape out the back door of the court while ICE authorities were present. And another is threatening to close the court if the illegal migrants continue to be evicted. Is this going to have to go to the Supreme Court?
Ultimately, yes. But what the Trump administration is doing is just ignoring it. We've got judges, Alan, who are politicians with Williams. They weren't elected by 77 million people. And if you're an illegal, you don't have due process. It's that simple. Tom Homan has said it. Other members of the administration have said it. Stephen Miller. But bottom line is, the judges have to be held accountable, and they have not been in the past. The D.C. circuit is horrible, but each state's going to have to take ownership and start electing conservative judges who interpret the Constitution, not make it a political instrument to accomplish what they want.
Well, Congressman Norman, please stay with us for another segment.
My pleasure.
And for those of you watching, we'd love for you to jump in with your thoughts on any of what we've discussed. You can go to ajnow.com and send us an email for a future show. We want your feedback. Later in the show, I'm going to share a bit of my thoughts from a biblical worldview. That's a place with a lens we can always find some truth to help us. I'll be back in just a moment. Well, we're back now with South Carolina's Republican Congressman Ralph Norman. You're one of the key members of Congress who hasn't forgotten about our veterans. Korea, Vietnam, the Gulf War, Afghanistan. We had a guest on last week who reminded us of the U.S. troops serving today in Syria, where ISIS is already trying to rebuild itself. Congress has approved money to help, but according to the new VA Secretary, Doug Collins, it needs to be better managed. Listen to what he said.
Remember, the last few years, the Democrats and Senate poured billions of dollars into the VA and added hundreds of thousands of employees, and yet we don't see the improvements in the metrics. In fact, disability claims have gotten worse. They've not gotten better. We've actually seen our static times and community care numbers increase because they didn't want to deal with community care. Again, all I'm asking is let's work together for the veteran to make the veteran be the center focus of the VA, because we are opening new projects. We are doing things that are helping our veterans.
Congressman, I know you didn't serve in the military, but you have been a determined leading voice for our veterans. Why the hesitation in Congress to support them?
Well, I think, one, under the Biden administration, there was no hope. I mean, the reason the enrollment for our military was down 30%, people had no confidence in the leadership, the wokeism, the transgenderism, that doesn't win wars for you. And under the Trump administration, and Doug Collins, who I know personally, he is a true advocate for the veteran. He is a veteran himself. And it's going to take a while to get the money shifted and prioritized where it hasn't been in the past. Under Hexteth and under Doug Collins, I think they will do that. It's still that our veterans are getting the short end of the stick. But look at the suicide rate among veterans. In South Carolina, we have had issues with veterans VA hospitals. And so we've got to take it state by state. And under the leadership of Doug Collins, the money will be there. There's one thing that I've been very pleased with in Congress. Our veterans had the support of the money, getting the money to them. But now what's the issue is making sure is prioritized and makes our safety better than what it has been, which has been non-existent the last 4 years. How more attacks haven't happened, I don't know, but it's going to take a while. He's only had 100 days to do it, and I think the next 100 days you'll see it emphasis put on money being spent where it should be that helps the veterans. The big thing that President Trump did was an executive order that all the COVID money that had been withheld from the veterans had been reinstated. They get their full payment in full, which goes a long way to show the support for the veterans.
With all the waste that Elon Musk and his Doge team have found, surely there's good support available for the health care of the veterans who've served and are still suffering from their time at war. You know, we see the many private groups that collect private donations for veterans. And frankly, the federal budget is made up entirely of private funds as well. It's the money that each of us pays in our taxes. So we should all use our voice to make the people who've kept us safe a priority. Are there any members who don't support our vets?
Absolutely. We get very little help from the Democrats at all. And, they've always wanted any increase in military. They wanted in discretionary, which is play money for pet projects all over the country. In fairness, it's Democrat and Republican. But, we're at the stage now where we have the leadership who understands it. We have people in place that have been veterans. Pete Hegseth's a veteran. Doug Collins knows the ins and outs like no other. So I think it will happen now. Under the last 4 years with the Biden administration, there was no hopes of it. And that's where your veterans suffered, and that's where we heard the outcry. But I can't tell you how important it is for each one of us to be a voice, for we the people to say, take ownership in their local VA hospital, and where there's a problem, let us know. And it's up to us to get the money to it and to hopefully change it.
Can you give us a little insight on the big, beautiful budget bill that's trying to work its way through Congress?
Well, one thing I've learned, Alan, is the fact that every dollar spent in Washington has got an advocate for it. What Doge has taught us is the money that has gone out the window we can't reclaim, that's spent. But the one big beautiful bill has got the parameters of a baseline cut of 1.5 trillion with an aspiration of 2 trillion. It's got a 2.6% growth rate, which we'll easily get. But again, it's not going to be easy lift. Politicians are good at spending money, but on giving it back, it's not that easy. But most Americans realize that something has to be done. 37 trillion in counting, not counting Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security. That's not a financial ledge you want to be on. So hopefully now we'll at least take the small step to begin the cuts using those baselines. Reconciliation gives us a wonderful opportunity we won't have again because you got the House, the Senate, and the executive branch. So I'm excited about it. Is it a catch-all? No, but it's a step in the right direction.
Well, here's a tricky one for you before we run out of time. Term limits. Translation, it's really about sunsetting your own role in Congress. I know you're a proponent of term limits. You've even suggested that you might want to run for governor next year. Can you tell us what you think a good term limit would be for the House and Senate? And if you want to announce your run for governor right now, we'll help you make some news and recruit some folks to pray for you.
Well, I need your prayers at all times to pray for the right decision. But the term limits, I don't think anybody ought to go to Congress and make a career of it. Now, the magic term, the magic bill that I have, baseline, is 3 terms in the House, 6 years, 2 terms in the Senate, 12 years. It will cause a 2/3 vote in both the House and Senate, and then ratified by the state legislatures. But it's just, politicians need to come home and live under some of these laws they make. The governor's race does have tremendous interest to me. I will be making a decision soon on that. Please pray for the right decision. This will be my eighth year in Congress. And I've enjoyed it. It's been a great time to do things, particularly now with President Trump. But as governor, it would be an interesting way to contribute, and we'll see what happens. I can't stay in Congress, but we'll see what happens. Well,
Congressman Norman, we are very grateful for you taking the time to join us today. It's encouraging when I hear members like you talking about what's ahead and what's possible. Hope you'll come to Nashville next time. We'll have you right here on the set.
I would love to do that. And thanks for all you're doing, Alan.
Thank you, sir. When we come back, my thoughts on how we can best get through all of this and find our way to a better place. Later, you take the microphone with your emails. We got a very full inbox tonight. We'll be right back. You know, we've watched lots of releases from the theater of the absurd. And guess what? The hits, they just keep coming. Judges ignoring the very laws they were sworn in to uphold. Judges assisting bad actors who are here illegally while resisting officers who are trying to enforce the law. It's absurd. The current administration campaigned upon the promise to remove those that particularly were violent criminals. And yet federal judges get involved and say, you can't do this. Our justice system has been weaponized. We have court cases and federal judges and restraining orders and mayors of major cities refusing to cooperate and governors using their power to resist. Elected government officials picking and choosing the laws they would like to enforce, like food choices off a menu. Our tax dollars have been stolen, fraudulently directed, wasted, while those in authority have been demanding more. That is an unsettling message to hear. DOGE has uncovered Social Security benefits being paid out to hundreds of people that are more than 120 years old, and unemployment benefits given to people not born yet. It's disorienting. We think somebody's making it up, and then we realize there's actual data to support it. Those who oppose this exposure get mad at the messenger and then implicitly condone violence by not condemning it. We need to pay attention to what is happening. There's a great power struggle taking place in the earth, and it's a mistake for the church to think and process in the same way that the secular community does. I'm a bit grieved when the Christian community sees the world through the same lens that the secular community sees. It reflects how shallow our spiritual awareness really is. See, I don't think the best way to understand what's happening in our world is a conflict between political parties, or even about forms of governance. All of those things are certainly in conflict right now, and they're tearing at the fabric of our world. But I believe underneath all of those things, there is a spiritual conflict, because I believe the most powerful forces available to a human being are spiritual. I'm not denying the power of economic or political power. They're certainly legitimate. I don't believe I'm being naive, but I believe the greatest power that shapes human destiny is spiritual. And that message has to begin in the church. If we as Christ followers deny the spiritual power of the kingdom in which we profess we belong, then we leave the world in an enormous deficit. If we'll choose the truth, I promise you there are more reasons for hope than despair. When we come back, I'm going to read your emails. There's a lot. Thank you for taking the time to send your emails. We always look forward to reading your thoughts and opinions and perspectives. They help shape the program. John from McKinney, Texas wrote, "Great show, very refreshing. I watch every day. I love hearing the political perspectives. I'm currently on day 85 of 100 Days of Faith. I look forward to your emails, videos, and prayer every morning. I'll restart when this one ends. Thank you, Pastor Allen." Well, thank you, John. And for those of you who don't know, if you go to ajnow.com, we did 100 Days of Faith. It's 100 days of a little video, just an encouraging word for the day. We're walking through some confusing times, and a little dose of truth sometimes helps us navigate all the confusion. It's free. Finally, Robin emailed, "I think if you really want to fix the problem and get companies back into America, you would charge a tariff on American companies who are located in different countries, then offer them tax breaks if they come back." What are your thoughts on this? Well, for the moment, Robin, I'm willing to trust the president. He's negotiating all those trade deals. Let's pray for him while those negotiations are going on and see what the Lord will bring about. Then we can start coming in with our adjustments. Finally, I'd like to say that with your help, we're getting more and more people watching our show each week. Truth and hope, it cuts through all the noise. I can see it in the emails we receive. Those of you who write telling us how grateful you are to have found a place where you can trust what you hear. The world is certainly challenging enough to navigate if you also have to navigate what's real and what's fake. So let's keep going. I'd like you to ask a friend or neighbor to watch as well. Spread the word, and we'll spread the truth. Thank you for watching tonight. I'm Alan Jackson, and I hope to see you tomorrow. Good night.